This is Benchmark Happenings, brought to you by Benchmark Home Loans, with Jonathan Tipton and Steve Reed. Now your host, Christine Reed.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Benchmark Happenings. And so we are just really excited today to have our special guest, Austin Ramsey. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure to have you. And Austin, really what we want to talk about today, Austin is a self-made man, entrepreneur. He has started his own business, Pointech, which is on the technology side. And we'll talk a little bit about what his initials CBC means. And so, Austin, I think with, I've known you for several years, and, you have accomplished so much in your lifetime in such a short period of time, and if you don't mind me saying, as a young yes. man. And I think just the first impression that I had from you when we met is the fact that you are a Roan Scholar. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that
Thank
just
you.
sort
Go
of,
Bucks.
yes, go Bucks, go ETSU. And I know you were very involved at ETSU, and you've been extremely involved in your community and always ready to help people. So let's talk a little bit about your company, Austin, Pointech.
Yes. So Pointech, well, first of all, I can kind of share a little bit of my journey. When I was in elementary school, I always had a passion to find things to make money. I was always looking for ways to, so in going into elementary school and middle school.
So you started early, right?
I did. I started early. I always liked, tinkering with technology, laptops. I was in preschool and I wanted a laptop. And so my grandfather actually brought me a laptop that would just type the letter A. So I could just type A's across. And so from that point, going into elementary school and middle school, I hated going to the school dances. And so I said, if I have to be here. So I started a DJ business and I actually started DJing in middle school.
Okay.
And so this was an opportunity for me to, if I had to be there anyway, why not get paid to be there and then have a little fun? And so that really was the first piece that taught me, about building a budget, buying equipment, going through the process of marketing to weddings and some corporate parties and stuff. So how old were you when you started the DJ business? So I was actually in fifth grade. I bought my first amplifier from Radio Shack, no longer around anymore. Actually, I think there's one Radio Shack still that exists. I read the other day. So I was in fifth grade and did a elementary school dance, and it worked well. And I said, well, I need to keep buying bigger equipment to where I could do bigger events, and did some weddings and just really enjoyed it. I mean, it got me behind a microphone, chatting with people and playing music, and which I've always loved music. I'm a big audio person from technology, involved. And so, but yeah.
So with
fun.
that idea and that passion you had for music, and it just shows that at a young age, you were an entrepreneur.
Yes. I've said I was an entrepreneur when I was born. My grandmother's been in real estate for 37 years and is just one who's really she taught me the idea of, working for yourself, having a passion for an industry, real estate. So, real estate's a big component, is a big part of me. And just seeing her being able to, develop her own schedule at a young age was always so just inspiring. And so from that point forward, I said, I don't ever really want to have a schedule set.
Right.
And so that really pushed me to find avenues to do my own thing, and which has continued to grow into what Pointech is today.
That's great. So really you became the cool kid, the DJ, playing all the music, buying your equipment, learning how to budget. And that was one thing that when I first met you years ago, the level of maturity that, you have and responsibility. And there's a lot of people that, they want to be their own boss. They want to start a business, but they just don't have the discipline behind it.
Yes.
The motivation, the ability to be a self-starter. and you encompass all of those things. So take us from your DJ. How long did you do that, Austin?
So I DJ'd into high school.
Okay.
And in high school, I started getting to this point where, I was hauling equipment in and out. I had a buddy of mine that I started actually paying him to take equipment out to do his own thing. So sort of helped kind of push him towards this. That's one of the things that I've always enjoyed is helping encourage other people at my age, to pursue things because you don't have an opportunity if you don't try something.
That's right.
So, and you really don't know if it's going to work until you try. That's just part of the entrepreneurial spirit. You get in, you try it. It may not work. You may fail a few times, get back up and try again. And so, but I quickly realized that it was a lot of time for me and a lot of weekend time. So it was constantly weekends, Friday nights, and you'd get done DJing a wedding at 11 or 12 o'clock, and then you'd have to load everything back up and then unload it. It just became a lot of intensive work. And I started to say, I always enjoyed technology, and in this time I was also dabbling with home support. There was actually a funny story in I think I was in freshman year of high school, or I was in eighth grade. I can't remember what grade it was. And I had a client that had referred me from real estate who had called me and asked me if I could come out and help him. He had a home business, needed some work done to his computers, and ended up needing to replace them. But he called me, and I said, well, would there be, and now I say this and kind of laugh, because I think, what would I have said if I heard this on the other side of the phone too? But I said, well, would you mind to pick me up? Because I didn't even have my driver's license at this point. And so there's many moments where I was coordinating with my parents, my grandmother, and some mentors of mine to help, kind of navigate me to different places because I couldn't drive. It was almost a limitation, right?
But you were able to overcome all those things.
Yes.
So I look at you and I'm hearing your story, which is fantastic. And you did not allow any obstacle to deter you.
No.
So I love that. So go ahead and tell us about your home business.
Yeah, so he's on the phone. I said, well, can you come pick me up? And he hesitated on the phone, me being innocent, not even thinking about anything.
Sure.
And he waits a minute and he says, well, yeah, I guess I can. What time and where? And so anyway, so he comes and picks me up, and I knock on the door. He knocked on the door, and he looks over me, and he thinks, "Who's this?" And he.
How old were you at the time?
I was either 8th grade or 9th grade. I can't remember. I mean, so I was like 12 or and so he. So he looked over me, of course, being relatively short at that point, and looked over me, and anyway, long story short, to move forward, went to his house. By that afternoon or the evening, I don't know what time it was after school. I know that much. So ended up getting his credit card and buying a bunch of computers for him because he had some problems and we needed to. But he joked, the person that referred him to me, he called her back and he said, well, what did you do? Did you send me somebody for DUI? Because that's what he was thinking.
Sure, come and pick me up.
He had no idea.
Right.
And she didn't give him any context. She just said, you need to call this person.
And had no idea that you were a teenager.
Correct. And so that taught me one lesson, which I have had to overcome a few times, with different business, when you go and you schedule a meeting with someone when you've never met them, and, you show up to the door. I had another instance where I showed up to the office and was in the lobby and said I was there to meet someone, and they came to the lobby looking for someone, looked at me and went back to the receptionist and said, and I could tell he thought I was not the person he was meeting. And so overcoming that young age, but then being able to come in and prove that, yes, I can. I've got you covered. I'm going to be able to handle this. And so you just use those, you just take those strides and run with it, and, use it as motivation to show people that you can, that
you absolutely can do it, and overcoming that.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And so when you, as you help this individual and bought computers and help that person get set up and with their business, then is that what kind of spurred you on to say, hey, I just need to start my own company here?
Yes.
Okay.
So through high school, I continued to do a bunch of home-based residential consulting or support, and really what kind of shifted. I did get the Roan Scholarship at ETSU, and I went on campus freshman year, and I really struggled to think about what major, because my major I wanted to be was run a bit, own my own business, right? And I'd had these micro businesses that were profitable and allowed me to control my time and enjoyed them. But I knew it needed to. I needed to elevate that, and so I actually, funny story. In freshman year of college, I started as a computer science major, and I went into the classes, and it was so much busy work, just writing programs and sitting in a room, and just I just hated it. And again, that's the difference with me and most technology people. You've got people that are programmers behind the scenes, which I respect heavily.
Yes.
You've got people on the front end that are more sales or technical advisement, but this bridge is what I bring, is where I understand the program side, what's behind the scenes, and respect that well, the limitations of things, but also can talk on the front end to the customer and understand the business, understand the who that customer is and what are the needs, and being able to be that bridge, kind of that broker relationship, right? And so freshman year, I said, I don't like this, sitting in a room writing all this program, and
because I could be out making money.
Correct, I could be out making money, and I hate sitting still. I move around a lot, and so I actually went to the business department, and I would say I had 3 majors in one day because I was a computer science major. Went to the business department, got convinced to switch to a business major because I thought that meant you could. Still, I had this concept of I needed a business degree. Quickly realized degree really wasn't relevant, but that's later in the story. But I switched over to a business degree and then left, and I started thinking, well, that's just for a management level position. I don't want to be a management level position. I want to do something on my own. And so I went back and said, let me get some skill. And so I went back to computer science because I knew it would challenge me. I mean, it wasn't a cakewalk major. I mean, it involved a lot of projects and stuff. And so I went back to computer science and loved it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It taught me how to think more logically.
Okay.
Because programming is very, we often say it's ones and zeros, and it is. I mean, it's very basic, but it's also very logic-based. If this happens with the program, then it should do this. And if this happens, then it should do that. And that type of thinking in what I do day to day is so valuable because it takes away a lot of the emotions of day-to-day things, and we look at it from a logical structure of how do we solve this problem logically. So now looking back, I mean, it was a great choice, and I'm so glad I didn't stay with just a business major, and I added a minor in business management and took some classes there to complement that. Okay.
And so when did you graduate from ETSU?
So I graduated in 2021. Okay. So my last year was full of when the pandemic came about, which actually was part of my growth in Pointech. So to kind of transition that, 2019 was when Pointech was started, my technology consulting firm. And so through college, I was quickly looking almost at a time clock of, okay, I've got to do something. I've either got to do an internship, and I was being pressured in my scholarship program. We need to do an internship. You need to go to Eastman and do an IT internship, or go here and there. And in my mind, I kept thinking, well, I'm in an internship every day. I'm seeing clients and businesses every single day and learning and seeing the real environment. That is my internship. I mean, it didn't fit necessarily the structure they wanted.
Right, the mold that they wanted to put you in.
It wasn't the traditional path that most people and which entrepreneurship is not a very traditional. It's something that there's not a book to it. There's not a path. There's not one single pathway. There's many. And so, but I kind of was getting to this point where I was like, well, if I don't do an internship, then man, I've got to commit to doing this thing. This is kind of, so the rubber started hitting the road freshman and the sophomore year of college. And so I actually launched Pointech, and with the pandemic, it was just kind of this point to where I said, well, I can either thrive in this environment because I've got so many businesses that need to adapt and stay alive, right? Because they've got customers and employees they're supporting, and I need to be behind them. Or it was a point where I could say, hey, this is not my thing. Let me go down the traditional path. And so I'm fortunate I picked to continue with Pointech, and my business thrived through that and was able to help businesses, stay engaged and with moving remotely, staying secure. And from that has just been a continuation of growth, which I've been so thankful for through that. So.
Absolutely. And I think that, timing is everything, but even with someone like you, I think that you would have overcome and been successful no matter what. But the pandemic did, it changed a lot. The world is not the same as we know it. I mean, people had to learn, just like in my company, I work for a global tech company, med tech company. And so we had to start doing all of our calls on Teams. Some people may use Zoom. But WebEx was another one. And so we actually had to take training on how to run a video conference because that was something that we just were not used to.
Correct.
We did conference calls. I would go see customers all the time. And then with the pandemic, we weren't allowed. I go into hospitals. We weren't even allowed to go into hospitals. So, I mean, the technology changed
so quick
everything, and now I find customers prefer a lot of times a video conference versus face-to-face. I still push for that face-to-face because there's just something about reading the room,
correct,
and being with those people and looking at body language, and because they don't turn on their camera.
Yes. And that's a challenge today.
It is a challenge. And I always ask people, would you please turn on your camera if possible?
Yes.
And I think some places they just don't have that capability, but you feel like you're talking into a black hole.
Correct.
If you don't have those videos on because you don't okay, is anybody there? Are they listening? Are they just checking emails?
You also don't know who else is in the room.
You don't know who else is in the room. So great for your business. So then where did you go from there on with your Pointech?
Yeah. So by the time, again, so 2020 and 2021 was still, and that was what was interesting, still being in school, in 2019, when I launched Pointech, it was basically to give me a company. I had many vendors asking me, well, what's your company name? And I was just operating under myself, sole proprietorship. And finally, that's kind of when 2019 happened. I said, well, I need a formal name. And so started LLC and everything. And, but, through that, through college, I was still juggling schedules of class. I mean, there was days that my schedule was a nightmare because it was like I would be in class from 9 to 11, and then I would go to Kingsport from 11 to 2, and then I had class at 3 to 4. So I was just constantly hopping back and forth, and so through that. But it allowed me to prepare myself. So when I graduated, I mean, my company was running full steam, and so it wasn't a get out of college and have to get my bearings and figure out, what's next. It was really, wait a minute, I just got back tons of time that I was spending in class, and so it allowed me to invest that time and to continue to build my business and grow my business. So with that, to go back to those the three-letter initial CBC, I had a mentor of mine early in my home consulting days that was very. I've had a lot of mentors actually, and that's one of the things that I encourage anyone, no matter where you're at in life, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. I mean, surround yourself with mentors and people that can give you different perspectives and and invest in you, and you're able to invest in them. It's a two-way relationship,
right,
having
and
those mentors.
So, and I think that's really important because so many of us do not take the time to have a mentor in our life, even one.
Yes.
And I grew up in my always learning that, I need an older woman in my life and I need a younger woman in my life. So that as that older woman's pouring into me, I'm in turn pouring into the younger, and it just works that way. So I think this would be really helpful for people listening and maybe that are like a lone ranger out there. What would be some suggestions that you could help on how to choose a mentor? What do you do?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I think, many of my mentors have been, it's either someone who I met through a business relationship, so someone that in a business relationship, but also I'm a big part of 4-H. So most people don't realize 4-H traditionally is more of an agriculture framed organization.
That's how I think about it.
Yeah, most people think of 4-H, and locally, that's what the 4-H landscape looked like. And I was fortunate in high school to be a part of the technology side, so GPS, GIS mapping technology. I joined a group locally that was a part of a national team that did mapping technology with 4-H. And so being in 4-H, one thing, 4-H's motto is learn by doing. So how can you not love that motto of, that's my entrepreneurial story, is learn by doing. It's just getting out there and trying stuff. So their motto just fit well. But through that, being a part of 4-H, there was a friend who now is a great mentor of mine who, through that relationship continued to develop. And it started just more as someone that you would chat with on calls and project calls. And quickly it became more of, I would start to ask questions about business, and he came from a government perspective.
Okay.
So he worked. He was a national program leader on the federal level, and it was in a totally different world. But that fascinated me because that was a world that I knew I wasn't in. So finding someone that may be in a different environment, a different, even a totally different career is a benefit because they can bring a different perspective that you can compare and contrast against. And it doesn't have to even be a professional mentor. It can be someone, that's more of a almost a friend tour. I call them a friend tour, more of a friend that also mentors you by making you think about more life. So there's not an equation there, but someone that you can trust, someone that you feel like, which takes time. So I always tell people when you're finding a mentor, don't rush into that. Let it develop and make sure it's someone that you can be confident with and be able to, hear the things that you might not have wanted to hear, because that's what a mentor is there to do.
And be willing to receive
willing to listen. Correct.
Be willing. And I think, what you were saying about relationship, it has to happen organically.
Yes.
Because you may not be compatible or click with that individual. And I think about your parents. I think about your grandmother.
Oh, yes. She's been a huge, family's huge. My grandmother has been a huge inspiration to me, and she's, of course, I'm biased, but she's the best. So
she is.
She's the best, and but finding someone who in different, I think it's good if you're fortunate to find multiple mentors. If finding mentors in different areas just brings such a unique perspective to life, because we all have different experiences, we all have different thoughts and ideas even, and someone may tell you that's the best idea ever, and then two other people may say, are you crazy? Being able to hear that sometimes it's like, if you just talk to one person, you might have done that, but those other two people steered you, so having those different perspectives, I think is just invaluable.
And it really is to bring multiple people to the table. And I know with problem solving, I've learned too that as we bring multiple people, we can solve a problem. I know here at Benchmark, they do such a great job. It was like this week, actually, I think Ashley and Jonathan and Steve, there was a particular loan and there was a situation, and man, they were just, the three of them, they were just hashing it out and looking into all these things. And you know what? They finally found a solution. But if they hadn't had all those different perspectives helping each other, looking into it, they wouldn't have found a solution. And they actually found an issue with a particular program that came up that nobody would have known about. But if you were just that one person looking into that, you're not going to know, and we're blindsided.
Yes.
But like our ideas, like you said, I know Steve and I, we come up with ideas and we whiteboard, things, and then we'll go to other people and, we think, oh, it's a great idea. And then we'll have somebody that says, not a great idea. And then we go back and think about it. But that's so important.
It is. It makes you think.
It makes you think. And John Maxwell had a book. He says, sometimes you learn and sometimes you fail.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if we are willing to, like you said, get out there and try things, you learn as you're doing things. Yeah, you may make a mistake and you may fail, but it's okay. Because what did you learn from it? That's what's important.
Correct.
I mean, how boring if we thought we had to be perfect, which we're not. It's. I think you're a little delusional if you think you are.
Yes, I agree.
But it's okay to make those mistakes, and I think I see that in you, Austin. You are the true entrepreneur. That you have so much humility. You're always willing to. You probably know more than anybody in the room. But you would never know that, and you make people feel so comfortable and at ease, and you're just great at what you do.
Well, I've always thought of technology as being something that it can quickly be overwhelming.
Yes,
it can quickly be frustrating. I mean, I get frustrated. Ironically, people always say, "Well, you must." No, I mean, I get frustrated with technology. That's just the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It constantly changes. Just when you think you figured something out, there's constantly a data breach out there that you're constantly worried about. I mean, there's all these things of technology, but at the end of the day, we're in an environment where we have to embrace it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're in an environment where it is a tool, and there's a lot of great things that technology has been, and I think we're going to continue to see more and more benefits, as well as there is the challenges to anything, but being able to just help kind of make the picture more clear, and just trying to help be that support system and help give people confidence. I always tell people, a lot of times it's giving people confidence. And what I've loved about that is I've been able to, as an entrepreneur, been able to work with organizations to develop entrepreneurs. So these are people internally to an organization that aren't on the side of wanting to be out on their own and do something, but also on the inside, though, they are these idea starters. They're these people that have thoughts in their head about, well, what if we did this and that, and helping encourage those people to thrive, which is equally valuable. I mean, hugely valuable for an organization, because it develops ideas and thoughts that can drive value, improve the customer experience, whatever is at hand.
So that you don't get stagnant.
Correct.
And so let's go back to your initials.
Oh,
CBC.
yes.
Let's tie off on that.
Yes. So CBC one of the things that I always have thought of is, I do not like the same thing over and over again. I'm very conscientious of not creating a habit of a pattern of a schedule. That's always been just my motto. I like the ununiformity of that. So one of those things is I've learned that many organizations, we as people, were very good about putting things in boxes. We put it away and we forget about it. And we keep these boxes and they build up. These can be physical boxes. These can be mental boxes.
Yes.
These can be, you name that analogy, right? And I quickly thought, what if it's just the idea that we come in and crush that box, get rid of the box, throw that away, get that out of your mind. Don't let that hang. And so I was always trying to figure out, I've never liked CEO. I've never liked owner. I've never liked, managing. I've always liked being different. And so I thought, what's a title? And so finally I thought, well, what if anybody's used Chief Box Crusher? And I did a Google search, Chief Box Crusher. No one was using it. So I thought, wow, what a great SEO from an SEO perspective.
Yes.
If I leave a meeting and they call Chief Box Crusher, if they Google that, you're going to find my LinkedIn profile. And so I thought, boom, Chief Box Crusher. And now it's a conversation starter. So what is an internal philosophy of if it's, I hate that idea. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Because it's this idea of, well,
because that's status quo.
It may not be broke, but it still may need to be fixed if it's not as efficient.
We can improve it.
Correct. Constant improvement. Constant improvement.
Yes. And we did Steve and I did a podcast this week, a book that he read, and I think you would enjoy it too, Austin. It's called The Gap in the Gain. It's all about goal setting. And, Steve said, one thing we need to do is not compare ourselves to other people. We compare ourselves with ourselves.
Yes.
Because comparison is the thief of joy.
It is.
As Teddy Roosevelt once said.
It is.
But a chief box crusher, I love that. And I never knew that. I was thinking, getting equipment and you just crush the box, cut it up. But no, you're chief box crusher.
Yes.
That is absolutely brilliant.
It's more of a philosophy.
Think outside the box.
Think
You're going to
outside
crush
the box.
it.
Crush it.
And you
Crush
do.
it.
Austin, you do crush it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
we love you here at Benchmark. You have you've helped us immensely.
Yes.
With all of our
wonderful.
Technology. You've actually helped me at home because with my company, you make a phone call and you have to talk to someone that you don't understand. And, you certainly have helped me. So Pointech, is that how people
Yes.
can find you? Is just
Yes.
Google Pointech?
Or Chief Box Crusher.
Chief Box Crusher. So, guys, I really highly encourage you, reach out to Austin. He is phenomenal. You won't regret it. Great company, great person. And, I look forward to seeing more of what you're going to be doing, Austin.
Thank you. Thank you. It's exciting.
It is.
There's many more boxes to crush.
And I want to bring you back because we ran out of time today, but I want to bring you back. I want you to start thinking about how you can help us better understand AI and Chat
GPT, yeah.
Chat GPT and all those things, because we're all hearing all this stuff. Tesla just come out with the Gen 2 robot, and I just would really like to hear from your perspective how we can embrace that and not be
Yes.
afraid of it.
Yes. Yes.
So, Austin, thank you.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you.